7 calls to action you're missing in your real estate business. This is a webinar. My name is Bob Stewart. Guys, I've been online in real estate since 2001. We put our first site up way back then. And in those 18 years, these concepts, this idea of how do I get people to take action on something that I'm putting out into the world, have been kind of forefront on our brains this entire time. In the very beginning, it was how do we write ads to go up on this thing called Overture that fed our ads to a place called Yahoo, and what kind of things might people be interested in clicking on or seeing. Over time, obviously, that's become Google and Facebook and email marketing, and now we can text people for our marketing. So we've been thinking about this for a long time, okay? And as I was building this webinar out, I think initially, and I've done multiple webinars of this nature in the past, and a lot of times we focused on calls to action that you could put out in your marketing in front of people that most likely don't know you, right? And how could we get those people to take action, drive them somewhere, and ultimately kind of convert them into a prospect for our business? And I think a lot of us think about calls to action like that. How do we get somebody that doesn't know us and really has, at all, right, to take action? But as I was building this out, as I read Wikipedia's kind of definition of a call to action, and I highlighted the idea that these are things that happen inside of sales scripts or advertising messages or marketing messages. But I would take this even a step further, and many of the things we're going to talk about today are at this next step, which is it's just as important that we have calls to action for the people that know us, like know us intimately, our past clients, for example, or our sphere, or leads that they don't really know us. They've been on our website. Maybe they've gotten some stuff from us, right? But a lot of you guys, especially if you're Brivity clients, right, you have big databases, right? They've got old leads in them. They've got your sphere, your past clients. It's just as important for you guys to understand how to kind of prompt those people to take action, just as much as it's important to find new people out there and get them to take action to come into our world. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of both of those things in here today as we kind of go through and talk about calls to action in our business. Now, if you guys have been on my webinars before, we always kind of look at this map and we say, look, here's everything that we have in our Brivity world. So if you're a Brivity client, I hope this, looking on here and going, wait, what? We've got market reports? Like we can do a CMA with Brivity? I had no idea. I hope you're not doing that, okay? But if you're not a Brivity client, this is what the Brivity world looks like, which is essentially there's people out there somewhere, right? That we call that traffic. Those people might be sitting on their couch and we access them by mailing them, right? They might be walking into one of our open houses. They could be driving by one of our listing signs. The more traditional sense is they're on Google searching for homes for sale in Bellingham, or they're on Facebook and they come across an ad that tells them that home prices are up 8% in Bellingham this year. Find out what your house is worth. The traffic, it's all these people that are out there somewhere. Okay, and if we put the right content and messaging in front of them, we can drive them to a tool, potentially capture them, which brings them into our CRM. From there, we can nurture them with listing alerts. We can nurture them with market reports, right? We might have plans set up to apply to these people to try to get them into communication with us at some point. If we get them out to see houses, they write an offer, they become pending, and we manage their transaction in there, right? Or we do a CMA for them and they end up listing with us. We manage that transaction. At the end of the day, we get a paycheck. That's kind of very high level, right? That's Brivity. Now, what we're going to be focusing on today is the content and messaging piece, right? As it relates to like what kind of calls to action can we put out in front of that traffic to get them to take action so they become, kind of in our web, right? But this other side, this nurture side, right, where we've got them in our database, and many of you have large databases, okay? And we have these people in there already, and we'd love for them to take action because a lot of you guys have people in your database. It's almost like an ego thing. We don't do anything. We don't ever call them. We don't send them anything. They're just in there. And we can walk around and beat our chest and go, my database has 15,000 people in it. But if you're not kind of getting those people to take action, then you might as well have 500 people in your database that you are getting to take action, right? So that's where we're going to be focused, in this content and messaging area, and then this nurture environment where we've got people in our world, and we need to get them to take action. Now, I promise you guys, if you come to enough of my webinars, you'll be like, this jerk. All he talks about is listing alerts and market reports. And I'm going to start with these two things because as a Brivity client, you all have these tools. And listen, I do training with a lot of our Brivity platform clients, a lot of them. Multiple times a week, I'm in people's accounts. And these tools are the lowest hanging fruit, kind of the thing you could do once and they just work for you over and over, right? So listing alerts on people in our database, right? It's a call to action. Come look at properties on my website, right? Now we stuff another call to action inside of every listing alert that goes out because we know, or we've learned over the years, that a high percentage of the people that come to us as buyers own something, right? And we just look at the national average, 60-some% of them own something, right? And then a large percentage of those people have to sell that thing they own before they buy the next thing. And so inside of your listing alerts, we're always stuffing in this call to action to get them to see what their house is worth, right? Get an estimate on what the house you may live in today is worth. It's a great call to action to get your buyer leads that you have in your world to raise their hand. Now, who should have a listing alert? Every single buyer lead you've ever had in your life should be set up on a listing alert. A lot of them you know something about. They came to my website, they looked at properties in Bellingham, they were all between 300 and 400,000, they all had 3 bedrooms. Awesome. I set them up on a search in Bellingham, 300 to 400,000 with 3+ bedrooms. Sometimes I get a lead, or sometimes you have an old lead. You go in your database, right? Your big beat your chest 15,000 person database, and you're like, I don't even know who these people are. There's this whole set of people in here. I have no idea who they are. I think they made an inquiry 4 years ago on realtor.com. Like, maybe you know, maybe you don't. But a lot of times you won't know what they were looking for. So what we do on Ben Kinney teams, we just set everybody up on a listing alert. And when you do that, your skin gets a little thick, right? Because some people reply with like smoke coming out of their ears and all caps. And they're like, oh, who are you? Where did you get my email? And we just say, hey, sorry, next. But if we do a generic search, or a search based on what they were looking at. Now, a generic search might be, I've got this old lead. I don't know. I'm just going to set up a search in Bellingham for 250 to 400,000, 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Go. These things are going to go to them until they either unsubscribe from them, right, or reply to you with the all caps email telling you to get lost. And that's fine, right? We get those every day, and we're okay with that because what we also get is people who reply and say, you started sending me listings in Bellingham between 250 and 400,000, but we want to live in Ferndale. And we go, awesome, high five, we'll change it to Ferndale. Or they say, we got 4 kids, we need a 5-bedroom house, right? We say, cool, we're going to change it from 3 to 5, and what's your price? So that they'll reply, right, and tell us to change it. Or they'll just start coming back to our website. They'll take, we put a call to action in front of them, hey, come look at listings. And they'll go, okay. And they'll click a listing, and now they're back on our website. And every day, your team should be going in and seeing who's the most recent visitor on my website. Guys, our teams are religious about this thing. Listing alerts get set up on every single buyer prospect. They came from Zillow, fine. We know what property they looked at. They get a listing alert plus or minus 10% in that city, for 10 plus or minus 10% of that price of that property. Sometimes we don't know. We just go, fine. My mom works Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma, Washington, 200 to 350,000, 3-bed, 2-bath, go. Okay, so don't miss this as an opportunity. You all have this tool. Please, please, please. And I'm going to beat you over the head with this until I can go into every CRM inside of Brivity and see listing alerts for everybody. The next one, market reports. So I have an amazing wife. She's beautiful. She's a 10, I'm a 5. I would never say to my wife, hey, Aaron, guess what? I'm going to send you to this event. It's going to be really cool. There's going to be 50 guys there. They're all going to be better looking than me. They're all going to have bigger muscles, and they're all going to have a bigger checkbook. So just go, honey. enjoy yourself, just go. They call it speed dating. You're gonna talk to each one of them. You're gonna find the best one. I would never do that. I guarantee nobody on this call would do that either. But if you're not sending your sphere, your past clients, and any of your seller leads market reports, guess what you're doing? You're forcing them on a real estate speed dating event. You're forcing them, when they see a house sell across the street from their house when they drove home from work yesterday, all of a sudden there's a sold sign. They go, how much did that sell for? And they come home. If they can't pull your market report up and see on there, and that's how our market reports work, if it sold yesterday, fine, it's on their report right now. Whenever they look at that report, it's fresh look at the data right now. If they don't see, if they don't get that from you, what do? They go to Zillow. They fill out a form. They go to Redfin. They go to some other agent's website. They go somewhere and get that information. Okay? So you have to have market reports. And the call to action in here, here's why I love the market report versus, like, let's say, because there's tools out there where I can, and I get these. I'm set up a bunch of agents, right? Where they send me a valuation for my house each month, right? And they're using one of these, computer generated algorithms, right? From Zillow, or there's other places. Fidelity has one, right? And they send it out to me, and they give me like this opinion that my house is worth $385,000. And then next month it went down 1%. It's worth 384, 387. It's just an algorithm. The difference between that and a market report is we are not giving them an opinion of what their house is worth. We are giving them the information about what's selling around them so they can come to their own judgment about what their home might be worth. So when they see that house across the street that sold for 385, and holy cow, it's the same square footage, it's just like ours, like, they think to themselves, oh, we could maybe get that for our house. On our teams, we have, and we have a lot of teams. We have 21 now, I think, across the country. But every month somewhere, one of our agents is getting a come list me call from somebody that's been receiving our market reports. The calls to action in there are that market activity showing them things pending and sold around their house, right? So please, 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 right? Your action item number 2, number 1 is get all your buyer leads set up on listings. Action item number 2, my sellers, my potential sellers, right? Seller prospects I have, any seller leads I have from Zillow or my Brivity valuation sites, they get a market report. My past clients, if they live in my market still, they didn't move away, right? But they still live in my market report. And then anybody in my sphere that lives in my market report. Okay. Those are layups, guys. Everybody has these tools. You just got to put them into play, and they start to now, right? I do it one time, and now those people are getting dripped on, touched, right? They're having these calls to action presented to them. And when they take action, when they go and look at my market report, when they look at listings from my listing alert, I can see inside my CRM today they were there, right? Gives me a really good way to decide who to take like that next action on, right? Who do I call today? Who do I shoot a text message to today to see if their situation's changed, or why are they looking at properties, or did they want to go tour some this weekend? All right, let's talk about some like common real estate calls to action that you guys see out there, right? And we see these you guys see these on Facebook ads. You see these when you search, people search Google, right? We put these out on our business pages and on our own Facebook, right? There's nothing groundbreaking in here, right? These are just some of the different things that we can say to try to get somebody to like say, oh, like click there, right? Or text here, or now these are very common and generic. Right? This is an ad. This ad's been being served. And I don't know why, by the way, this ad gets served to me on my Facebook all the time. It's pretty generic in terms of like what I'm going to get. Right? Now, I get it's going to be all these homes in Denver, but like that's it. By the way, can you say family friendly in your advertising? I don't know if you can or you can't, but it's very generic, right? More generic kind of calls to action that we see a lot in our industry. Right? Contact us. Why? Sign up for property updates. What does that even mean? What am I getting? Right? Now some of these are fine and good, but when you make your message more precise, a couple of things happen. You filter out kind of the riffraff, right? The people that they're not as qualified maybe. But you also target a specific type of individual. So this is a better ad. The layout's a little bit better. They use these emojis, right? But they give us something very specific. They purport that if we take action, we're going to get something very specific, right? A free list of homes in Snohomish under $500,000. And guys, this is like a neighboring, I know why this ad gets served to me. I live in Kenmore, and Snohomish is like a neighboring city, right? That's a desirable type of property. There's not a lot around this Seattle market these days under 500,000, right? But there's a lot of people wanting that type of a home. They even go further and they give me like, I don't want, it's not scarcity, but it's right. It's something, it's an offer, right? Some of these homes even qualify for special offers. Like what kind of special offers, right? There's a couple of reasons in here why I might take action. They've made this specific message with specific deliverables on what me as the consumer is going to get. And when you know, over the years, we, especially in the beginning, we tested this stuff heavily, right? The difference between saying like, find homes for sale in Seattle, right? Or find 3-bedroom condos in Seattle under $400,000. And there's a big difference in how many people you get to take action on these things. And when you think about the way that you spend marketing dollars, right? Generally, you're spending marketing dollars on a pay per click. So when you make a broader statement, a more generic statement, you might get more people to click, but your conversion rates are not going to be as good as when you make a very specific message that might get fewer people to click, but when they do, they know exactly what they're going to get. And then, as we'll see later, on the back side of where they're actually clicking, they're brought to that actual thing, right? That idea of really focusing my message, focusing my landing page, and focusing everything in there around something very specific gets you fewer clicks, which saves you dollars, but those clicks are more valuable. Now let's look. How can we make some of those ones we saw earlier better, right? What are some of the tactics that we might use so we could create scarcity, right? There's not a lot of this thing. I mean, we should always, and even that one generic one we looked at, they used number 2, right? They had, search all Denver area homes. So they made it a little bit more specific. Sometimes we might be able to make these things time sensitive. We could create a FOMO, right? You guys all know that, fear of missing out, or exclusivity around these things. That ad we looked at, the generic one, they definitely had agent speak in there, right? MLS. Now we all know, and when we think most consumers know what MLS is, but when I Google MLS, short of some ads that come up, Major League Soccer is at the top of that. CMA is another one. When I Google CMA, guess what? A real estate CMA is not on the first page of Google. There's like a certified, some kind of accountant on there. There's all this stuff that's not a CMA, and we all know what that is, but consumers don't necessarily know what that even means, right? Or we could offer solutions to real problems, and I'll get to this one in a minute. So some examples, right? And these are things, guys, that like we use in our world. Okay, get a list of the 10 best priced properties in Whatcom County. They'll be sold by the weekend, right? There's some time sensitivity in there. There's maybe a little bit of an idea of scarcity, right? We obviously have our location for the entire county of Whatcom that we do business in for Ben's team in Bellingham, right? Now, see the difference between find out what your home is worth right now and, hey, home prices are up 8% in Seattle this year. Find out what your home is worth. Right? Search homes in Bellingham versus, search homes in Bellingham under 300,000 with 3+ bedrooms. Now, I may have another call to action later that said, search homes in Bellingham with a pool, or search homes in Bellingham, with a view of the water, or whatever. See which homes in Ferndale you could buy for the same $1,800 a month that you're spending on rent. You can see these kind of elements of what makes a more specific, kind of better call to action. Now, a lot of this, especially when you're dealing, well, leads or people in your database, you're just trying to get them to respond to you. This last one on here, access our exclusive wood sell list. Some of you guys have heard us talk about this, what that is. If you're interested, so our wood sell list, what we do, every time we talk to a seller prospect, any kind of seller lead that comes into our world, most of those people that come in, they went on Zillow to find out what their house is worth, and they want to talk to an agent, or they came on our Brivity valuation site, they gave us their address and their info, but when we called them, they said, oh, we were just curious, we're not thinking about selling anytime soon, we're just curious. We take every person we talk to like that, we basically use a script that sounds something like this. Hey, that's fantastic. A lot of people that kind of come into our world aren't ready to do anything right now. That's totally cool. Listen, we're going to set you up on a market report so you guys can see all of the sales and the pending and the active properties around your house, right? Just give you a really good idea of what's happening right around you. Now, you said you're not ready to sell now, and that's fantastic. But we often have buyers looking in your area there in Fairhaven, right? And sometimes we can't find them the perfect house. In the future, if we have a real buyer and we can't find them the perfect house, would you be okay if we just called you and just seen if anything's changed in your situation, right? Maybe you guys are thinking more about selling at that time, but we'd love to potentially be able to show your house to somebody that's like ready to buy. Would that be okay if we just checked in with you when we do have a real buyer and we can't find them a house in Fairhaven? Look, 8 or 9 out of 10 of these people say, yeah, you bet, no problem, sure, if you have a real buyer. And we build this wood sell list, and right there, activerating.com/wood sell, there's a video tutorial of how we actually, the technical aspect of how we do this. So what we do is we come back when we have real buyers, right? And we call that seller in Fairhaven and we say, hey, listen, we've got a buyer who's touring next weekend. They're going to be in town. There's only 3 properties right now that kind of fit their criteria. And we're just curious, have you guys thought any more about potentially selling? And would you be okay with us showing your home? And look, 99 times out of 100, they say no. Like, no, we're good. We're not thinking about it right now. It's very rare they say, yeah, sure, bring them by. But what this does is it puts in their head that the Ben Kinney team has buyers. So we get come list me calls from these wood sell people because we've been calling them a couple times a year trying to bring a real buyer by their house to buy it. But my main question for you, as you sit there and listen to me drone on here, is what do you have to offer people? Right? And this is a really big question because as we look back at some of these things, right? We do wealth building classes. Do you? We have a wood sell list. Do you? Right? In some of our kind of outreach and conversion attempts that we make, we talk about things like the no lender fee mortgage that we offer. We talk about things like, having a buyer consultation where we can share with them how many of our clients can save or earn up to $20,000 in their first year of buying real estate. Now, our agents are all equipped to be able to have that conversation so we can make that offer. Right? So I really want, I'm curious for you guys right now, check in with me. Tell me what kind of quivers do you have? What kind of arrows do you have in your quiver? Right? I'll give you some ideas of some of the other arrows we have. So we have a seller guide that we can send to people, and sometimes we'll mail that seller guide. We'll print it out and mail it. We have a buyer guide. We have a relocation guide, right? We have all 3 of those things for most of our locations now. We've got our wood sell list, and not all of our locations have adopted this concept, but we've used it in Bellingham for years, right? We've got classes that we do. We do first-time home buyer classes. We do wealth building classes. We do investment type classes. So I wonder, what kind of things do you guys have? Somebody share with me. What's an arrow you have in your quiver that you can offer to people, right? Something of value that makes your calls to action more than just, we can help you buy a house, we can help you sell a house, right? Because the reality is most of the people in your world, they're not ready to buy today, right? I was talking to a team yesterday about this idea that you guys aren't salespeople that are like, it's not like you're a shoe salesperson and I come in and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about getting a pair of shoes. I don't know. And you're like, you got to have this shoe. This is a great shoe. It's on sale. It's super comfy. Put it on. Doesn't that feel great? And then you go, and then they go, oh yeah, it does. Like, okay, I'll buy it. That's not how it works with a house. You don't convince somebody who's to buy a house, right? You kind of lay the path in front of them, right? You give them the buyer guide. You talk to them about the no lender fee mortgage. You talk to them about how, when they buy, they're going to have appreciation and they're going to be able to write off the mortgage interest as a deduction, and that's how, right? And we're just creating this path for them. And when we don't do these things, we run this high likelihood that they're going to get off our path and get on some other agent's path, right? Like, there's this idea, I get 100 leads in my world. Like, we think we're doing a really good job if 6% of those people become a buyer with us in the next year and a half to 2 years. Only 6, but there's 94. A lot of those other 94 buy a house with someone else, right? It's not like they're all just bad leads, never bought anything. They buy with someone else. So we got to get them on the path, right? Which means we have to have offers. We have to have arrows where we can make offers to get people to take action. And then we have to make those offers in a manner, right, that has scarcity, right? So when we have a home buyer class, we don't just say, come on. We try to create scarcity around it, right? There's obviously a timeline on those things. Like, be more meaningful with your calls to action. Really think about them. All right, so what kind of action can they take, right? I actually learned something new today from our designer. So phone number, they can call or text me, right? And by the way, that text me, I can't tell you guys how often you guys put your phone number out there and you don't kind of prompt people to potentially text. Like, I love getting an agent's email signature that says, like, it just has their one phone number and it says call or text. So then I know I can text them, right? Whenever I get it's just a phone number, I'm always like, oh, I can text this. I never know. Is it going to go to their office? Like, and sometimes I'll get a response back that says this number can't be texted. And sometimes it's just a dead end. So even just like simple little things that we can do, right? Now, we're going to really dive into the text code quickly, some of the ideas around that. But we can have links or URLs or buttons, right? We saw those on the Facebook ads earlier, the button for more information. Sometimes, like when we do our open house, sometimes it's just a form. The call to action was them walking in the door of our open house and us saying, listen, the seller asked that we have everybody, for safety reasons, register right here on this iPad before you guys walk through the house. That's the call to action, right? The outcome, or what they actually do, is them filling my form out. Please use these. If you're Brivity and you are doing open houses, one of the things I do around here is I meet with all of our expansion teams once a month. So yesterday I was meeting with one of our really high performing teams, like Austin and Vancouver for us, Washington, are two of our highest performing teams. In Vancouver, what we found yesterday in inspecting what we expect was half of our people aren't using the open house pages. And so what happens is they come in on Monday then and they add their leads in and they don't get a plan applied to them. And sometimes they don't even put the source in right because they're manually entering this stuff. And then they don't get a listing alert. So we're missing those subsequent calls to action to those people. Right? We try not to have too many shiny objects in our world. We really just focus on the basics. Ben's team sold 2,384 transactions in 2018, I think. And a lot of it is just filtered down to the basics. We have everybody getting market reports. We have everybody on listing alerts. When we do an open house, they all come through an open house registration form. Well, not all of them, because we catch people every now and then not doing it kind of to the standard. And then we have to train them because we, as the leader, has gone in and inspected what we expect from them, right? We can get them kind of back to doing the best practices. All right. Let's talk about this call to action, which is very much a lead generation call to action. And here's my friend Corey Permack, who many months ago posted this in Facebook for me. And I don't know that I've gotten more mileage out of anything that any Brivity person has given to us than Corey allowing me to share this with you guys. This is his quickly call to action that sits out in front of his listing. And what you don't see here is his actual listing sign that would sit next to this, much larger, with a different or another call to action on it, right? Of his phone number. And in a perfect world, they'd call him. But it's not a perfect world, right? And a lot of these people, they don't want to talk to you. They would actually prefer to just get the information about the property by texting in. Now, compare that to this, right? And this, they've got their call to action there, right? There's a lot going on that sign. Let's come back to this one. Oh man, why did I put this so far down? I want to show you guys this real quick. Look at these two side by side. I call this the 3-second test. And when you look at the right side of the page, just give yourself 2 or 3 seconds. And then when you're done, what do you remember? I remember it was for sale. I remember there was a couple of phone numbers on there, and there might have been something else in the middle, but I'm not sure. Because I just drove by your listing at 25, 30, 35 miles an hour. The difference between that and what Corey does, and we don't see the other side of Corey's, but he's got 2 signs. Let's say the one on the right was Corey's with just his phone number, and the one on the left was his call to action to text. When you drive by that, your brain takes in the right side for a second or two, and then the last impression left as you're driving away is the smaller adjacent piece of marketing, the text call to action. I promise you, Corey gets more kind of leads per sign that he puts into play than the folks on the right. And it's a function of kind of how we lay out our call to action, right? But they have one here, right? Don't do this. So this who knows? Does anybody on the call here know Via? So I love Via. She's amazing, right? And she actually kind of has stepped away from her team, and her team continues to run without her. And now she manages all of Ben Kinney's brokerage operations. She's our general manager for our brokerages. But I saw this sign, guys, yesterday. Oh, no, wait. 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I was driving down the street. I'm on this. It's a major intersection in Kirkland, Washington, corner of 100th and 135th or something. There's a stop sign there. There's nowhere for me to pull over and get out. I guess I could do it at the stop sign. I could be at the stop sign, race out of my car, and go over and look at that poster board they have there. And on that poster board, you can't really see it, but it's a QR code. So I'm at this location where I can't pull over. It's a busy intersection. I'll bet 1,500 cars a day drive by her sign. It's a really busy intersection in Kirkland, and a lot of cars actually get stopped at that stoplight right in front of her sign. From where I was, I couldn't read that sign, and I was in the right-hand lane, stopped at the stop sign. I always get excited when I see a sign of somebody I know out in the wild. I don't know why. It's kind of weird and stupid. I see Ben Kinney signs all over my market, but I get excited. So I took a picture, and then I was looking at the picture later, and I was thinking, I'm like, she's having quickly. What are they doing? 1,000 cars drive by this location every day. None of them have a place to stop and get out and shoot a QR code. And the reality is, did you guys know this, by the way? I didn't. I just learned this today. For the longest time, your iPhone didn't have a way to read a QR code. Now your camera can actually read a QR code. Most people don't know what to do with a QR code. And then there's a matter of them being able to actually stop and get out and go do it. It's just a missed opportunity. I would bet they've missed 5 to 10 leads a month from this sign not having that call to action on it, right? So if you're a Brivity user and you have quickly, please, please, please do what Corey's done. 18 by 24, standalone, stakes in the ground next to your main sign. Okay, at the very least, get a call to action for quickly on there somewhere. But there is some real psychology behind the layout and how we position these things to get people to take more action, right? Corey's doing it the right way. This is fine. It's better than this, right? All right. Here's another place you can utilize these calls to action. This is a guy named Jason Matt. he's a Zillow Premier agent, by the way, so he's able to market coming soon listings. But anybody who can kind of, when you take control of your Zillow profile, you can go in and edit the description on your listings in Zillow once they make their way from the MLS. Most of you guys have like some kind of a feed coming from your MLS or your brokerage that feeds your listings onto Zillow, but you can claim them, right? Or you've got your account set up there and they get connected to you. So what Jason does is he comes into his Zillow and he puts in these, text JMT coming soon to 59559 for free access to all details, including updated pricing, pictures, location, or schedule your private showing. And he does that on all of his Zillow properties. Now, if you're a Keller Williams agent, this can be done at the KWLS level. You can go to KWLS and make these edits to the description, and it will populate out to Realtor.com and Zillow and Trulia and some of the other portals out there. This is something that any Brivity user could do today, right? For your signs, you got to go order them if you're not using them already, but you can do this right now. Now, wait. I always get people to say, yeah, but they're on Zillow, where they can just call me or they can click contact an agent, but here's the thing. If we write these listings descriptions properly, right, we create some exclusivity around them, right? Like to schedule a private tour, text, JMT sold, the 59559, whatever his keyword is, right? If you'd like to be the first person, like on his coming soons, I would absolutely be saying something like, would you like to be the first person to see the inside of this home? He's in a really hot market, by the way. His listings don't last very long. A lot of the stuff he even has these coming soon, that it's already pending, right? But here's the deal. This stuff works, okay? This is, if you look down the bottom left here, I'm in the back of his quickly, and I'm only querying the keyword JMT coming soon, which is what we saw in those Zillow ads. It's the only place he's using this is out on those. He did it in the KWS, so it's syndicating to Zillow and Realtor and Trulia, right? So these leads are coming. There was 36 of them just in the last 2 months, and June's not over, right? Now he's had 73 total queries on his quickly, but 36 of those have come from his efforts of going out and putting his call to action on Zillow. Is anybody else a little bit surprised that somebody would be on Zillow, either on their phone or on their computer, and then would be like, let me text to get info about this property? I'm a little bit surprised. Like, that doesn't seem like, it seems counterintuitive to me, right? But I think that idea that they can schedule a private tour, they can contact a listing agent directly, because if they've been on Zillow before and they've clicked the contact button and all of a sudden they got put as a lead to somebody and that person called them and they said, hey, we'd like to see the property, and that guy like, are you the listing agent? No. Wait, what? Well, I want to talk to the listing agent. Oh, that's okay. We can, no. Right? So that call to action, he got 36 extra leads from the same thing all of you guys could have been doing, right? I think he's carrying about 20 listings in Zillow at any given time, and they don't get it on every single one. He's getting 1 or 2 inquiries per listing per month that he's got out there on Zillow. So do it. Now, these text codes, and I'm a big fan of these, by the way. Here's why. Okay, guys, I've been doing this, I told you, since 2001. Guess how many times Bill Gates has signed up on my website? I don't know, 100? A lot. I remember the very first time it ever happened, I ran in and I'm like, Jonathan, look. But Bill Gates signed up on our website, dude. This is like 2002, right? Bill Gates didn't sign up on our website. None of the 100 Bill Gates that have signed up on our website were Bill Gates. They fake their stuff all the time in some of these venues where we were throwing call to actions in front of them, right? They fake their email, they fake their phone number, they fake their name. They cannot fake their cell phone when they text us for something. When they text JMT coming soon, he has their cell phone. And this isn't groundbreaking. That's the best piece of contact information I could have for anybody on the planet. I know I can text them. I know they're going to see it. We all see our text messages. We all read them. We might not reply to them. We might ignore them, but we read them, right? Having somebody's cell phone gives me a chance to take to put all those arrows I have in my quiver into play. Corey, I had my Josiah Ubin. He leads our design team. He's really talented. He's very impressed by your marketing, as am I. Right? This is Corey doing like a local event this concept of doing local events, a lot of you guys get out in the community. I was just talking to a guy the other day. He's going to do a 4th of July parade, and they have a float, and on the side of their float, they're going to use a quickly call to action. What they did here, what Corey did, is he gave that bike away. Okay, and in order to win the bike, and he's even got instructions. That little, like, it says win me above the sign, above the A-frame, and the one above it says 3 simple steps. Text Permac to 59559. Receive back a digital entry form. Complete and submit the form. So when they text Permac to 59559, he sends them like a Google Doc. He built it out. It asks them for their name, email, phone number. We already have their phone number, but we ask again. Physical address, so we can send you the bike when you win it, right? And then he asked some qualifier questions. So think about this. I don't know what this event was, but let's say 500 people came through the event and 200 said, I want to win something, right? Not real estate leads, just moochers, freeloaders, right? Then they get the form. And the fun thing about this is only 150 fill the form out. Now, I don't know if Corey's team does this, but on our teams, like we do these at a bridal show, for example, we'll call the other 50 that didn't fill the form out and say, hey, you texted in to win the Christian Louboutin shoes, but you never completed the form. We'll take your info right now. Right? We might pick up another 20 of those 50. But those questions he asks at the bottom of the form become the qualifiers, the calls to action to get these people who, again, were just people coming to an event, down to freeloaders, down to people willing to give us all their information to win something, down to people who actually answer in the affirmative to one of the questions Corey would have posed at the bottom of his form. Are you thinking about buying a new home in the next year? Do you currently own a home? Would you like to know its true value? Have you ever considered investing in real estate, and would you be interested in attending one of our investment seminars? Have you ever considered a career in real estate? So he's got calls to action around, are you a buyer? Are you thinking about selling or want to know what your house is worth? Maybe you want to invest, or maybe you want a career in real estate, right? 4 really good calls to action for Corey's business. And he got in front of these people because he's out in his community. He gives them an offer to win something. In exchange for that offer, they are going to come through his funnel. And at the end of the day, maybe he got 15 people that gave a positive affirmation to one of those, even though he collected 150 kind of people to add to the database. You can start setting them up on market reports, start reaching out to them and seeing if they'd be, interested in learning how to build wealth through real estate, which is what Ben Kinney teams do. We've had people use these at the Alaska State Fair. We've had people use these for bridal shows. We've had people use these for, like home improvement shows or the home show. I don't know what particular event this was for Corey. We've had people use these at, the Christmas light festival. Like anytime you're out in the community, I beg you, have a call to action that can help add stuff to your database. If he doesn't have this here, all Corey's doing then is like, people are stopping to talk to them, I guess, about real estate. But I bet a bunch of people came through, texted to win something, gave some affirmative to that. They never stopped and talked to Corey at all, right? Okay. So when we're laying these calls to action out, and I use Corey because this is really sound. Like this can be done, by the way. Our teams have done this on a whiteboard where they just draw on it, right? Because they get they don't get their stuff together soon enough. Like Corey obviously had his crap together way in advance, right? He had a professional sign printed. The layout's fantastic. He even had a little explanation written up there of what to do. The layout is important, right? The layout of your quickly sign, for example, the layout of your ad. Look at the ad on the right versus the ad on the left. The ad on the left is just barfed up. Here's everything about this house. It's amazing. Here it all is. Can you even read that? And think about it, as you scroll through this thing, you're scrolling through Facebook. It's even less time than they have when they're driving by our sign, right? I might have had a second to grab their attention. The one on the right grabs their attention just slightly more. And when you think about this ad might get shown to 1,000 people, those slight variations to optimize make a really big deal. So I really encourage you guys, like, use this guy as a baseline and start thinking about what does your marketing look like? How do you lay stuff out? Are the calls to action, do they make sense? can I enhance things that I'm doing with another call to action? Like, it might seem stupid to put a quickly call to action, a text call to action in a Facebook ad. But in my head, it seems stupid to do it on Zillow, and Jason has 36 more leads this month and last month than had he thought, this is stupid. Nobody's going to be on Zillow and text wrong. They do. So where can we get these calls to action in there? And should we include, like, could that one on the right have a phone number and say, call us right now to learn about one of our special offers that saved our last client $16,000? I don't know. Right? Could it have a text call to action in there to say, don't want to give us your Facebook information? Text us. Yeah, it could. We saw this one earlier, the 3-second test, the layout, what this looks like, right? If you have people that are insisting on having flyers out there, I mean, we've gotten away from that, right? We use our quickly signs out there. Fine, we'll put a flyer out there. We're not going to put the price on it because we might drop the price in 2 weeks. We don't want to print new flyers, right? We use quickly on our flyers sometimes. Again, seems potentially counterintuitive, but we are all about trying to get more people into our funnel, right? We can help them better. We honestly believe this, guys. Somebody that walks away with one of our flyers that has the price on it, and we don't know who they were, we can't help them. That person might be thinking, this house is too expensive, we can't afford it, we don't have enough of a down payment, but we might know that we have down payment assistance program, right? We can't help them unless we can talk to them. And we can't talk to them unless we can present a call to action that gets them into our world. So we use these on just solds, just listeds. And by the way, the other side of this postcard has our website address on it, and it has a phone number if they wanted to call us. Right? It's very rare that we go, oh, we're going to use this. Get rid of all the other stuff. Right? Like when we started using text calls to action in Ben's radio ads, we didn't stop saying go to sellerschallenge.com. We just said, you can call us at this number, or you can text us here, or go to sellerschallenge.com, right? And so I encourage you, let's keep going. Okay, seller lead gen pages, Brivity valuations. You guys have these, right? These become the landing page for some of those calls to action you might put out from a marketing perspective, right? I might have a Facebook ad running that said, home prices are up 8% in Bellingham this year, and there's a limited inventory, which means many homes are selling for over the asking price. Find out what your home is worth, what your Bellingham home is worth right now. Now, if I was going to have that ad running, this landing page needs to match that experience of the ad. And this is a somewhat elementary concept, I would think, except for, this is like, I click on ads all the time. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. If you're a real estate agent serving ads up to me, like, you're bad. Because I want to see what you're doing. I want to see what the experience is like when I land there as a customer. I want to see cool things other companies are doing that Brivity could do, right? I'm shocked at how often the landing experience is totally foreign from where I came from. If I came from an ad that said home prices are up 8% in Bellingham this year, and there's a limited inventory, which means many homes are getting more than their asking price when they sell, this page better be a picture of something iconic to Bellingham. It better have wording on there that says, find out, home prices up 8% in Bellingham. Find out what your house is worth. It might be way more than you think. Right? So when we do these, so again, think about inside your database. You have lots of people that you could get to potentially raise their hand if you just presented them with the right message and the right way, and then the right landing page, right pass through, the right way to get them to easily raise their hand. So a couple times a year, we'll send something out to our past buyer clients. Anybody that bought a home with us in the past in Bellingham, let's say, right? That landing page has a picture of the Ben Kinney team, professional, looking good. We all look like we have windswept hair, right? All dressed up nice. It's our professional photo of the Ben Kinney team in Bellingham. And then it says you bought a home with the Ben Kinney team in the past. Would you like to know what it's worth today? Right? And that message, that would be sent to our past clients so that the call to action we give, it could just be an email, it could be a text. Hey, I was researching the market last night and holy smokes, home prices are up quite a bit in Bellingham this year and the inventory is pretty limited. I know you guys probably aren't thinking about selling anytime soon, but if you're interested in what your house could sell for today, head over here. Right? We're getting people inside our own database to raise their hand because most of us have these really big databases and we're not systematically following up with people. These are good opportunities to like create a campaign, focus at those people, think of a good marketing message, right? Make it very precise, match the experience that we're going to drive them to that marketing message. You will get people in your world to raise their hand. You know, if I was doing running some kind of ad, see, like, traditionally over the years for us, these types of this type of marketing, this type of like scarcity mentality has been a really good way for us to generate leads and traffic. This idea that there's a desirable type of property, and you guys all, by the way, I don't know your markets, right? I know Seattle. So I know in Seattle, any given day, there might be 5 or 6 or 8 condos with 3 bedrooms under 400,000. But that might be a desirable thing, right? Maybe, especially in our market where we've got all these like, you know, tech people, they got lots of money, right? Like, I might run an ad like this around like looking for an Airbnb investment. These would be good ones. You know, here's all the condos in Seattle with 3 bedrooms under 400,000. On Airbnb, these go for an average of $450 a night. Right? I don't know. But when the message is out there, when they land back here, they've got to land on that thing. That's exactly what I told them they were going to get with the message. These are /share pages. So on Brivity, you create a search, and then you just go into the URL, you say /share. And now if I created that search out of waterfront homes for sale in Bellingham that are on the water, I just /share at the end, and now I've got a link that I can use in any of my advertising around, you know, Bellingham homes on the water. So most of you guys most likely have one Brivity website. Some of our more advanced marketers and users actually have 2 Brivity websites. They have a seller website and they have a buyer website. And on Ben's seller website, sellerschallenge.com, when I land here, it's all about how Ben Kinney's team sells your house. And so when we do marketing that's geared towards sellers, we drive them to this always. So when we do our radio advertising that's geared around our guaranteed sold program, we send them to Seller's Challenge. Why? Because when they land there, the experience they heard on the radio, the message they heard, the experience when they land here matches that message. It's not this, where it looks like really all I can do here is search for homes, and I'm, you know, this has their marketing plan, see my home's value, sell my home, right? Ask about my guaranteed sold program. As I scroll down that page, every single element of this page is geared around a seller. It shows them how we market properties. It shows them how we utilize Brivity to keep them up to date during the transaction. It shows that, right? So you guys could potentially have a site that was totally focused on sellers. Now, your buyer site has many of these same things, and you could even have a page deeper in your buyer site that was just focused on selling. And then you would just direct them there, right? But when we do a radio ad, we can't say, go to bktseattle.com /selling / how we sell your house. We have to be able to say, go to sellerschallenge.com. This is a buyer site, right? Somebody landing here, it's very obvious. The first thing I do is I search. I type in a city I want to search in, right? It's geared towards a buyer experience. This is geared towards a seller experience. Now, it's very rare, by the way, that we just drive somebody to bktseattle.com, right? We drive them to a particular property, to a particular search for a certain type of property. And I'm going to finish with market reports and listing alerts because do them. If you're a Brivity client right now, so in Vancouver, I'll use them as an example. I used them earlier. They have about 11,000 people in their database. They only have like 890 past clients, right? They have 2,500 market reports set up. So they have about 21 or 22% of their database set up on market reports. But they only have 800 past clients. So who else? I'm going to keep saying this till every single one of you has it. Your sphere, your seller leads, your past clients, right? Listing alerts, everybody, all your buyer leads. If you go through your database, every single person you look at, you should be thinking market report or listing alert. And there should be a damn good reason why they don't have one of those two things. A good reason would be they don't live in my market anymore. They live in Mesa, Arizona. I sold their house in Seattle. They were a past client, but they live in Mesa now. Fine. I can't do a market report or listing alert for that person, but I strategically thought about it. I strategically thought, should they have a listing alert or should they have a market report? And if you get to a lead and you're like, I don't know who this person even is, do something about that. I'd suggest a listing alert. But if I had somebody in my database, I had an address for them and I didn't know who they were, I'd do a market report. All right, I just want to leave you guys with this because I looked high and low to try to find anything on the internet. But by the way, okay, so there's lots of places out there. And what made me even think about this, I was at the grocery store the other day and they had, the things that separate my groceries from the guy in front of me, right? I like human interaction, so I don't use the self-checkouts. So I go through, my wife gives me a hard time about that. But anyway, I go through and I put up a little bar. And the bar was an ad for a real estate agent. And it basically said, like, we serve the East Side. Call us, 888-888-8888. And I'm like, what? Call you for what? Right? Like, call you why? By the way, that's Carly Rae Jepsen, I think is her name. Carly Jepsen Rae. I don't know. But when that song comes on in the car, guys, ooh, I'm jamming. Right? You guys all know that song. You're jamming right now. But like we tell people all the time to call it. We never say why. I want somebody right now to tell. Here's some of the whys. Like when we're reaching into our database and we're saying we'd love to talk to you. Here's why. Right? We'd love to talk to you about our lender, about our zero lender fees loan program. The last client that I worked with that used that mortgage saved about $2,485 on their mortgage. Would you like to save $2,400 on your mortgage? Let's talk. Call me maybe. I want you guys, tell me right now, like in the questions area, tell me, why should somebody call you? Right? Should they call you to find the properties that they could, that they could Airbnb and make a profit? Should they call you to figure out how to lay out their real estate investment portfolio? Should they call you to learn how to build wealth in real estate? Should they call you? Like, we put this call to action out so often, so cavalierly, that we just don't even think about why. I love it. I've got, so why, guys? Why should they call you? Like, seriously, right now, why? I don't know. I love your honesty, by the way. You've always dreamt of living in paradise. Call me and I'll tell you how. It's fantastic. Gabby, I need to talk to you. I'm going to be in Cabo next week. I don't know if you're in Cabo, but I've always dreamed of living in paradise. Right? So Gabby's is, you've always dreamed of having that vacation home in Mexico. Call me and I can show you how. I help U.S. real estate investors buy property in Mexico. Right now, my wife and I are we're trying to figure out the logistics. And this is insanity, by the way. I have access to more real estate talent, brain trust than most people in the entire world. My wife and I have a rental on Capitol Hill. We have the home we live in here in Kenmore. And we're thinking about two things: buying a different house and turning the Kenmore into a rental, and potentially changing our investment property to give us a place that we can take our boys that's within driving distance for our weekends. And this is going to be our lifestyle as our children grow, right? I need somebody to help me through that. If an agent called me tomorrow, right? If I saw somebody's advertising out there that said, we help people figure out how to move between their real estate investments, Like, I would consider calling them, even though I could call Ben Kinney tomorrow, right? Now, look, I'm going to call Ben at the end of the day, I think, or Courtney Cooper, who I trust, or Via, right? Some of these people that I have access to that are going to give me really solid advice and help guide me through this process. But most people don't have that person. You guys have to start thinking about how do you, I want to, like, what, because I truly care about their why. Okay. Maybe. It's better than just call me. Tracy, I'm all with you there. To get your home sweet home, these don't give me a why, right? Can you get me a home sweet home better than Jimmy or Mary or Frank? To find your home for the least amount of money and sell your house for the least amount of money or the most amount of money in the least amount of time. I don't have an answer for you guys, by the way. I don't know what your why is. I know what some of the Ben Kinney team's whys are. And I know that we sharpen those arrows every day. We practice those scripts and dialogues every day. We make sure those things get into our email signature. We make sure that when we say something on Facebook and we ask somebody to call us, we talk about the why. Our message was around the why. Go get your next appointment. Go to that next appointment. Get the listing. Sign the buyer agency agreement. You guys have an amazing, amazing week in real estate. My name is Bob Stewart. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.